I want to share with you today what I think is a helpful template that we can apply when transition and disruption comes into our lives or into our work lives. So, this template, I think, is something we can utilize as an individual, but also as a leader of a business, organization, company, or team, or just a member of an organization, company, or team. So, this is something that I hope will be helpful. Sometimes I like to jump on in the middle of the week and do a live uh, presentation like this as a way of just kind of helping us get to the weekend. Okay. So you're halfway there. Good job. Congratulations. Now, here's the template. And again, it can be applied whether we're just going into a season or coming out of a season or adjusting somewhere in the middle. Okay, so it's kind of a problem solving template. Here's the three components of this template. And I chose the words that I chose on purpose. They're they're action words, they're not passive. And I think that that is also very, very important. So let me give you the three, and then we'll back up and we'll talk about each one. The first is you want to identify the actual problem, identify the issue. Okay. Secondly, we want to investigate the possibilities of how to respond to the issue. And thirdly, implement the solutions we've discovered. Okay. Now let's back up and talk about those. It's a simple template. Let's begin where we have to begin, and that is identifying the actual issue. Now, the reason I say the actual issue is sometimes we get trapped in the emotional responses to what's happening to us, around us, and we just vent. And so we can gripe, complain, blame, whatever. That's a natural human tendency, but it isn't helpful. So we want to get through that quickly. Let's process the emotion if we need to get to this point. Let's identify what the real issue is. What is the problem? Let's clarify that. Let's own it. Let's name it. By naming it, we can own it. And by owning it, we can address it. If it's just something out there, we don't know what it is, then it's very hard for us to make progress. So the first step, the first part of the template is you want to identify the actual problem or problems, whichever the case may be, that are tangible, they're real. These are the significant things. So identify those, clarify them. Then we can actually move forward in addressing them. But identifying them is not passive. It means we're actively thinking and clarifying this is our obstacle right now. This is our problem. This is the issue. The second part of the template is where we move to actually investigating what the possible responses to this issue are. Now, I want to save you some time here because we can waste time and energy trying to come up with solutions or possible actions that we don't really have control over some of these things. So if it's an issue or any realm in which you have no real control, move that aside. Don't waste your time and energy here on things that are beyond your control. If it's not something you have control over as an individual or as a business, an organization, or a team, then move it aside because you're going to waste time. Now, just focus on the things that you can have some control over, okay? So investigate those possible responses. This can unleash innovation, creativity, thinking outside of the box, coming up with options. This is helpful for us as individuals to think this way, but organizations, companies, businesses, teams, we need to release our teams to do it. But again, we want them to do it in the areas which we actually have some control. If we don't control an area, if we don't have any control over something, we don't want to waste our efforts and energy. So let's steer our teams that way. What are our possible solutions? What are our possible responses to this issue? And then the third element of this template is actually implementing those solutions. The first two are important: identifying and clarifying the issue, investigating the possible ways to respond to it. Those are really important steps, but they don't help us if we don't take the third one, which is to actually implement the solutions. It's really important that we do that. Now, we have to think in terms of what timelines kind of play out in this. So there are some things we may want to eventually do. There may be some things that we can do sooner rather than later, but it's important to be able to identify what can we do now? What are the solutions we can take action on right now? We need to come up with that so that we can set it in motion. This is how we make progress. We want to know what we can do right now. What's our immediate response? What's what we're going to do sooner rather than later, and what do we eventually want to be able to do? Putting that clarity around your implementation steps can be very, very helpful. This template works regardless of what you're dealing with, whether it's you as an individual, whether it's you as a company, business, organization, or team. I want to encourage you, use this template to help you. If you need to just put these things down, draw out some quadrants and say, okay, let's identify the issue. Let's investigate what our possible reactions and solutions are, and then let's implement. What are our implementation steps? What are our immediate actions? What's sooner rather than later? And what do we eventually want to be sure that we do? I hope you found that helpful. I hope that you can use this template in your individual life or in the life of your business, organization, company, or team. I believe these three things can help us avoid the trap of just venting emotion and griping and complaining and blaming someone else, and can actually help us take steps that give us the ability to make real progress in times of transition and disruption. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you again soon.